Samori Almami Toure, founder of the Wasolo Empire. From 1878 to 1898, Samori was the emperor of the Wasolo Empire, which stretched across the West African countries of Guinea, Sierra Leone, Mali, Ivory Coast, and Burkina Faso. Samori organized his empire and justified its expansion with Islamic principles. And speaking of Islam, Samori was a deeply religious Sunni Muslim who was also known to be a Muslim cleric and strictly adhered to the Islamic teachings and principles as were taught by the Prophet Muhammad. But who really was Samori Toure? Was he a hero or a tyrant? Was he a martyr or a legend? What is clear is that Samori Toure was indeed a visionary whose mission was to build an empire and expand Islam influence across West of Africa. And for 20 solid years, the Wasolo Empire reigned supreme up until Samori's capture by the French in 1898. The truth is that Samori did not appreciate the French occupation of West Africa. In fact, he resisted the French imposition of taxes plus the disruption of trade routes. The presence of the French in the west of Africa was a threat to the Wasolo Empire. And as the French dominated the socio-economic and political atmosphere of West Africa, a power struggle ensued between the Wasolo and the French armies. And after years of resisting the French occupation of West Africa, the French finally crushed the resistance, captured Samori Toure, and exiled him to Gabon, where he died of pneumonia 2 years after his capture. Samori Toure died on the 2nd of June 1900 in Jole region of Gabon, and with his death brought an end to the Wasolo Empire. But what benefit was the Wasolo Empire to West Africa? Did the Africans benefit during the reign of the Wasolo Empire? The truth is that the conquest and expansion of the Wasolo Empire was not without its challenges. The Wasolo army conquered territories of Mali, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, and Burkina Faso with brutality. The brutality for which the Wasolo army took over these territories was very tyrannical. Further, history has it that the Wasolo Empire was largely involved in slave trade. Now let's talk a little about slave trade. In that era, in the 1800s, slave trade was an acceptable business venture whereby people, mostly of the poor or of lower social status, were considered viable for slave trade. And once they were captured, they became slaves who would then be bought or sold off to other slave traders for the profit of cheap labor. Therefore, it's not far-fetched to believe that Samori Toure was indeed a slave trader. And as he expanded his empire, it's plausible that Samori Toure did engage in slave trade. And since West Africa was a well-known trade hub, whereby majority of African slaves originated from the west coast of Africa, yes, Samori Toure was indeed a slave trader. The Wasolo Empire was also responsible for the spread of Islam in the west of Africa. Samori Toure was a known Sunni Muslim who adhered to the strict Islamic practices and codes. And when he established the Wasolo Empire, his mission was to build an Islamic empire. All in all, Samori Toure did leave his mark in the corridors of African history. African intellectuals view Samori Toure as a hero and a martyr of African resistance to European colonialism. However, other communes in the west of Africa viewed his reign as tyrannical and brutal, especially those who suffered repression during his reign. Yet, Samori Toure's legacy still continues on as legendary. In fact, his legacy continues in his lineage. His great-grandson Ahmed Sekou Toure was elected as the first president of Guinea after Guinea gained its independence. And many of Samori Toure's descendants continue to this day to benefit from his legacy. And as they should, because that indeed is a blessing. If you enjoyed this video, please drop your comments below. Also like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I thank you all. Thank you.